20 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and young guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a beautiful Monday in Nashville, Tennessee. The weather is great. It's hot. And there's all kinds of stuff going on. Football is upon us. It's amazing. And we are there, the last day of July. Let's go to Murfreesboro for a quick hello with Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, guess what debuts today?
Is it the Titans thing with Terry McCormick?
Yes. However, it deserves better than...
It's not just a thing.
Yeah, the
Thing, my bad. I don't know what you actually call it. My fault. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to read
that's
you.
That's for you to know and me to find out, I guess.
Absolutely. So, good weekend?
Good weekend. How about yourself?
Excellent. No complaints.
Absolutely not. We're still here, Lord willing.
Yep. Yeah, you got that right. Billy, how about your weekend?
It was a good weekend, George.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to be back in the saddle, back at the Fordyce Center.
Right. Good that you got vacation.
Yep.
You've taken quite a bit.
It's back to the grind, George. It's football season mode now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I, who have had virtually no vacation, has got to figure out how to weasel a day or two at some point.
I think you're going to Atlanta.
I am going to Atlanta 2 weeks from today to see the Braves and Terry McCormick's hideous Yankees. Speaking of which, Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update debuts today. It is brought to you by Lori Leland. She wants to be your mortgage lady. Serving Tennessee and Alabama, give her a holler at area code 615-969-4350. And Terry, even though you have a sponsor, the Yankees are still hideous. Nice effort last night.
Gosh, it wasn't even worth watching last night. They're so bad. They're unwatchable in large part.
Severino's too good for this. He is tipping his pitches.
Obviously, something is wrong. He's got an ERA in the fives, I think, and that's just unacceptable. I mean, really, other than Garrett Cole, who you know most of the time you're going to get a really solid outing out of him, and Clark Schmidt, who's been pitching well after a rough start, it's hit and miss with anybody else that they run out there. Rodon has not been very good. Herman had the perfect game, but then he sandwiched that around a couple of terrible outings. So really hit or miss with this pitching staff, and then they don't have the hitting to overcome mediocre pitching.
Terry, it was old home week Saturday out at the Titans. It was great to see Brad Hopkins, who played when the team first moved from Houston, to see my buddy Jason McCourty, who is now starring with the NFL Network. He and I did a radio show for a couple of years. But in and around all that is some football. Tell us what's going on.
Well, today, George, was the first day in Nets. And that's always a big day, one that's circled on the calendar when training camp rolls around. And a little bit of a surprise as to who was the star of the day today, George. It was Will Levis, who put on a show, and not only in red zone 7-on-7, but red zone team drills today, firing 5 touchdown passes in those 2 periods. And he was throwing the ball with precision timing, really throwing his receivers open, which is what you like to see. He was putting the ball on the money as he was throwing it before the receivers made their cut and their break. And when the receiver made the break, football was waiting there on them. And, when you're making throws like that, no matter how good a defense you're playing, it's going to be tough on the defensive backs. And, he had been really behind Malik Willis for most of the offseason in terms of what he had shown. Been very inconsistent. He'd had kind of trouble locating and taking something off the fastball at times. But today, he showed you why that the Titans are high on him and why they think he can be the quarterback of the future, I believe, George.
So, Terry, they're less than 2 weeks from the preseason opener in Chicago. Is it your belief that it'll be Malik Willis and Will Levis splitting the duty, no Ryan Tannehill?
I think that's almost the way they've got to operate, George, because they can't take a chance on getting Ryan Tannehill hurt. You saw what happened last year when he was injured and playing at first injured and playing less than 100%, and then second injured and out. And they were going with Malik Willis and later on Josh Dobbs. And this team cannot afford to put Ryan Tannehill in harm's way in a preseason game and risk not having him available for the regular season. I think you'll see very little of Tannehill in any preseason game, if at all. He will get his work in when they have the joint practices that will go on with the Vikings and the Patriots.
Terry, give us one more note of somebody who really stood out, good or bad, this morning.
Well, I'll give you a couple, George. Sean Murphy-Bunting, new cornerback that they brought over from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, picked off a Ryan Tannehill pass that was intended for DeAndre Hopkins in the 7-on-7 red zone drill. A really good play, kind of undercut the route that as the ball was delivered and picked it off in the end zone. I think this guy is going to be a solid addition to that secondary, and Christian Fulton has been playing well in camp. They could be better at cornerback maybe than a lot of people thought, and maybe better than they've been in a while. And then keep an eye out on undrafted receiver Trayshawn Harrison. He's had a couple of impressive days, made some nice catches both Saturday and today. We'll see if he can keep that up once the preseason games start. But he's a guy who's been impressive thus far. I believe he's out of Oregon State.
Okay. Inquiring minds want to know, where is the backdrop?
This is what they call the Doom Room, and it's kind of a tribute to Robert Brazile. Makes me wonder if around the building elsewhere there might be an Earl Campbell room, a Warren Moon room, or a Bruce Matthews room somewhere. But yeah, this is in tribute to Robert Brazile.
Or a, hello, this is Bud. Shouldn't there be one?
Should be, absolutely. Wouldn't be a team without him.
Terry, great start to what will be a bunch of months of your daily Titans update. Thanks as always for the visit.
All right, looking forward to it.
Kelly, listen closely. Terry McCormick's daily Titans update brought to you by Lori Leland. She wants to be your mortgage lady at area code 615-969-4350. Got it?
I'm there. I got it.
Beautiful. Billy, do you have an update?
I do. We're starting in
wonderful.
college football. There were some things that came out late last week. Of course, we played some pre-recorded stuff, but I want to hit on some of those because it's pretty important. First, on Thursday, sources told Brett McMurphy that Colorado is leaving the Pac-12 to return to the Big 12 in 2024. They will receive their full Big 12 share, which is a little over $31 million from ESPN and the Fox Media deal. They left reportedly because of the Big 12 stability and the Pac-12's uncertainty. This just in.
Burial for the Pac-12 will take place next Friday. The body will be interred at some funeral home. They're getting very close to some deep trouble. But we're going to find out later in the show, so is the ACC.
Uh-oh. It's not looking good for the old Pac-12.
So you don't know where I'm going with that, do you?
Where are you going?
Butch Samide, intern extraordinaire, Battleground Academy graduate, Florida State student, tells me that Florida State will be a member of the Big Ten by Wednesday. He's going to join us to talk about that during the 3:00 hour.
Who would have thought?
So if he's right about that, and there are a bunch of people rumoring this, that would, at least for now, in the whole Florida State Clemson going to the SEC, it does make you wonder if this story ends up being true. Does Clemson follow to the Big Ten?
I was going to say he didn't mention Clemson going.
No,
in.
he didn't.
So what do the Tigers do?
Or the way they call it, Clemson.
Clemson.
They're willing to pay that.
CLUMP.
So, George, they're willing to pay that buyout?
I don't
Obviously.
know. Let's ask Butch that when he joins us, because he sort of gave me the tip on this earlier this morning. We'll see.
George, this is a minor note, but I wanted to mention this. I saw this yesterday on social media. Arch Manning, he has obviously a trading card that has been released. It's the highest selling through Panini America's website, beating out one of Luka Doncic's national treasures that sold for $100,000. But I've heard that Arch Manning isn't taking any NIL money during his freshman season. So I would guess he doesn't get that money. I don't know if that qualifies for NIL money, but I thought that was interesting. His trading cards up there in the price.
Based on my paycheck, I'm not getting any NIL money either.
Nor are you going to.
No, it looks like all three of us will. So that's true.
All right, let's go to the NFL. Bengals head coach.
That note really didn't get. Did it move you at all, Kelly?
Yeah, not really. No,
Yeah,
but I mean, I guess it's newsworthy. It's kind of like what he did last week to us, like Missouri or Arkansas. You know what I'm saying? Like the 3 games that Missouri had, or the 3 games like you can have the Missouri people call me, but like I'm not sure that was newsworthy like Arkansas was.
I don't know what you guys want me to talk about. This is we're still in the dead period.
No, that is not true.
Grow up,
true.
Billy.
You better
grow up, Billy.
There had better be something better to the update than what you've given us so far.
Well, the update is not over yet.
Okay, but I fear the worst.
Okay, let's go to the NFL. Bengals head coach Zach Taylor told reporters that Joe Burrow is expected to be sidelined for several weeks after his calf injury on Thursday, and they also tweeted the Bengals team account, Joey will be back. So I would guess we don't see him at all in the preseason.
I think you can take that to the bank.
Guess who their backup is, though?
I ought to know.
I'm not even sure myself.
Trevor Siemian.
That's right. Siemian. Yes, that's
right.
He
was a Titan for about 6 days.
He sure was. And he's a good backup. I mean, if Burrow has to miss any of the regular season, which I mean, it's not looking like he will, they'll be fine with Siemian back there. Moving on to the Broncos drama. There's a lot of drama with the Broncos and the Jets. It all started with Sean Payton.
What the hell was he doing?
Ripping Nathaniel Hackett, who is now the Jets OC. Payton said that Russell Wilson was working with one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL last season, referring to Hackett, of course.
I think we all deep down, if we're honest,
agree with that.
Yeah. But Kelly, why did he feel the need to say that?
I don't know, George. I mean, he's from that Bill Parcells tree that kind of says what he wants to. I can't say he's wrong with the track record. Can't say he's wrong, but I don't think you should do that. No. The guy got fired. Hey, it's over with. He didn't do a very good job, obviously, because they didn't win any games. Russell Wilson looked the worst that he's ever looked in his career. So obviously the proof's in the pudding. Why step on the guy when he's already down?
So I admire the fact that Nathaniel Hackett has not fired back. Now, what he should do is send old Sean Payton a message that says, if you say one more word about me, I'm going to take that Bronco at the top of the stadium and I'm going to cram that thing where the sun doesn't shine.
And how are you going to do that, George?
Well, you would take the Bronco off the top of the stadium.
I like that.
Really? I mean, what is the point? We know Hackett bombed. Is Sean Payton? Point. I mean, there was no point in that.
Well, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, even Aaron Rodgers looked halfway good with his normal hairdo.
Aaron Rodgers fired back. He said that he thinks Payton said that as backup for if they failed, if the Broncos can't improve.
You do wonder.
This year. He also said it was way out of line, inappropriate. I think he needs to keep my coach's name out of his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see you, Aaron.
Robert Saleh also came back. You said Hackett didn't fire back. Saleh fired back. He said, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. So hate away. Obviously, we're doing something right if you've got to talk about us when we don't play you until week 5.
So old Robert
he
called
back.
Kelly to get that line. Read that line again.
If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping.
Does that not sound like Kelly Holcomb?
Hey, when I was in Cleveland, we had a guy, and I forget the guy's name. He's one of our linebackers, but he'd come out to practice every day, and he goes, "Shake off them haters, dog. Shake them off."
That's great. Yeah, Sean Payton also apologized. He said, listen, I had one of those moments where I still had my Fox broadcasting hat on and not my coaching hat.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
There's that.
All right.
Okay.
We've also got another NFL note.
Yes, we do.
49. Oh, do you have one, George?
Yes.
Okay. I've got one as well.
Okay. I bet mine's better.
Okay. The 49ers general manager, John Lynch, is apparently understanding about Nick Bosa's absence amid their talks there. So I don't know. I would guess, Kelly, that Bosa is not mad that he's not at training camp right now.
Absolutely not. He could care less. No. He's using the system against itself.
Meanwhile, in a better note, New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara plans to meet with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell regarding his off-season arrest and potential suspension. I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear how he explains that one. Because the story goes on, the league office has not indicated to the team whether Kamara will be suspended. He will, for his involvement in a fight outside a Vegas nightclub in 2022. Yeah.
You got a comment.
2022. Let's move on.
A comment in here from Ricky. He said, I think Sean Payton said it to rally the Broncos fan base and let them know the talent is there. Wilson is okay. It was the coaching.
That fan base doesn't need it. That is one of the top 5 fan bases. When it's at its peak, the Broncos are one of the 5 best fan bases in the National Football League.
I would tend to agree with that. They're really good. Really good. They support those guys, and there's a reason why Payton went out there. I mean, I think he went out there for the John Elway effect to kind of learn how to be a GM if he ever wanted to do that. But I also think that it's a great place to play. He lives out there. The fans are great, and you can't get a better atmosphere for National Football League.
Guess who's coming on after the break?
Danny Evans.
Bingo.
Danny Baseball.
So the Major League Baseball trade deadline is tomorrow at 4:00. And a certain team that I might be familiar with needs to find a starting pitcher because the rest of that team is kicking you know what. Stay tuned. We're coming back.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. As a lot of you know, our show is now more than a year old, and that's a great testimony to some of the viewership that we have had from you all. So a big thank you right there. If you're new to all of this and you're wondering, how do we see the show? Here's some of the ways. Of course, you can watch it live 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the 3 biggest ways are Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, if you're working or can't watch the show live, you know what? All this stuff is archived in podcast form through two different ways. Apple, Spotify, that's the way you do it. You can go Apple Podcast or Spotify, and you're probably sitting there saying, George, you don't know what any of these mean. Well, I'm learning. I can at least spit it out now. Hope that you will continue to enjoy our show, because as football season revs up, we've got some great things planned. Thanks for being with us.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. So I'm told Danny Evans is going to be a couple of minutes late. He's fighting through some traffic and construction. I don't know how many of you saw it last Tuesday night. More national TV stuff for Danny as he called, and I don't know the name of the league.
Northwoods League?
Northwoods League, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So he did their all-star game, and I hope this continues. Listen, this guy knows I'll put Danny up with anybody when it comes to knowledge of baseball and then background info to go with it. So Kelly, the trade deadline is tomorrow. It looks like the Dodgers beat out the Atlanta Braves for Lance Lynn, who lives here. The Braves were heavily rumored on Lance Lynn. It feels like they're a starting pitcher short. They're going to get Max Fried back in about a week. And they are the best team in baseball. I admit that. There's no doubt in my mind they are. But the way baseball now puts its postseason together, that doesn't mean squat, because it's a crapshoot.
George, do you think Kyle? I hear Kyle Wright's coming back. They say he's supposed to be back before the end of the season.
Okay, I heard Alex Anthopoulos yesterday on MLB radio say that they are, quote, cautiously optimistic that Kyle Wright will be back sometime in September. I have heard other stuff that does not sound as encouraging. If they could get him back and he's anything close to what he was a year ago, that would be great. What they've got right now, Soroka does not appear to be somebody that you can totally trust for postseason. The kid, Smith Shawver, who pitched yesterday, who's 20 years old, he can throw the fire out of it. Not sure he's ready yet. This team, I mean, this is a shot to win a World Series. And so I expect I will be surprised if by tomorrow afternoon about this time that the Braves haven't traded for what I would call an innings eater. Somebody who'll give you 6 innings, give up 3 runs, keep you in the game. That's honestly what I think they're going to do.
Well, they got a really good team, just looking at it, George. And it seems like you're right. It seems like they need one more pitcher, and then they'll but you know, I know you want them to win another World Series. It's amazing how you can go through the regular season and you can be the best team in the regular season. I've seen it in football and basketball. I've played on teams like that. But then when you get to the playoffs, things get ramped up a little bit, and the expectations and the pressure, and you just never know sometimes how guys are going to handle that. So you need, especially in that league, you got to have a good pitching staff. And it's amazing how you can have so many good pitchers, but you may be one pitcher short. And it seems kind of like that's what the Braves are at right now.
I know Danny's close to joining us. 2 years ago when they won it all, I would not have put them in the top 5 teams category going into postseason, but they got hot and they got a bullpen out of Tyler Matzik that was lights out on fire. Anytime they got into trouble, here comes Matzik and boom, the problem is over. And before you knew it, they were world champions. Now, I always believed that sometime in the next 5 years, they would win a world title. But I did not think 2021 would be that year. This feels more like that year, but it is such a crapshoot that you just don't ever know. And now here's the other one that's going on. The Mets, who have a payroll, from here to the moon, they traded Max Scherzer over the weekend. I think you can take to the bank they're trying to get rid of Justin Verlander and kind of start this whole thing over. And I can't wait when Danny gets on to talk to him about where the Mets are in all this, because they've thrown up the white flag.
Would Justin Verlander be a guy that the Braves would go after, you think, George, or probably not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so for 2 reasons. Number one, he requires a ton of money. And like in Scherzer's deal, the Mets had to pay half of the salary to the Rangers. I don't think the Braves are willing to take on that kind of payroll. And I also don't think the Mets would trade inside the division to the Braves. Right. And so that's another deal. I know Danny's trying to get on right now, and it looks like there may be some trouble in the connection.
Yeah, he's having some trouble. Hopefully we get him back. I think he's trying to fix his camera.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, we'll get him on by phone. It's going to be interesting to see over the next 24 hours where all this stuff goes, Kelly. And
George, I got a question for you. What was the deal with Max Scherzer the other night after that game that he won for the Mets? I mean, what was his deal? Was he talking about the GM? Was he just upset about what's going on? I know they got rid of one of the closers, and then I guess that upset him because it makes him feel like that, hey, the Mets are kind of giving up here. Was that the whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, they tossed in the towel when they traded David Robertson to the Mariners. The Mariners. What am I saying? The Marlins. I mean, that was the guarantee right there that the white flag had gone up. And listen, Billy, if we need to get him on by phone, we'll do that as well.
Gotcha.
But I mean, you've got 2 codlock cinches, first ballot Hall of Famers in Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. They're both. Scherzer, I want to say, is 38. Verlander's either 40 or 41. So it's a win now, baby, kind of mentality on their end. And Mets have given you sort of we're kind of starting all over. And I guess it caught Scherzer by surprise, although how? I mean, what did he expect him to do?
In that interview, he was pissed off. Now he was upset. You could tell right after the game. But I think like I know that the Mets have to pay half his salary, but he went obviously to a better situation. The Rangers are really good, leading their division. They got a shot. Yeah, with him. I mean, they've got a shot. And then he's going to be on the team next year. So I mean, they're kind of building something there, which it turned out better for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Rangers are serious. They have poured some serious bucks out there. And this started a couple of years ago with Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, who they have paid an absolute fortune to. Then they go out and sign Jacob deGrom when all the doctors were telling them, don't do it. And sure enough, within a month, he's got arm issues, may never pitch again. And now they go after his former teammate in Max Scherzer. And, the Rangers are serious. And they score enough runs in that ballpark. Shoot, who knows? They may win it all. We getting comments from the peanut gallery back there? Wow.
I'm currently texting with Danny. We might end up just calling him.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. The Angels, let it out last, I guess, Thursday that they were not going to trade Ohtani. And that's great for their fan base. Everybody's like, hoorah. But if they don't make the playoffs and they're not able to re-sign Ohtani, man, they're going to live to regret that.
Yeah, what about the what is your thoughts? And I'm going to ask Danny about this, but what are your thoughts about the Padres? You've said the Padres have been a huge disappointment, but they come out and show this past weekend just how good they can be. They sweep the Rangers. So have they got a shot to make the playoffs, you think?
It's an outside show. Let's bring Danny in, who I'm told is on by phone. Danny, are you there?
I am, George, and the viewers are probably very happy that it's audio only and no video.
Danny, they would be even more happy if we just put like a big skull and crossbones over my picture. So, Kelly,
the joys of traveling.
So, talk to us about what these wild card contenders are thinking, because do you make big moves if you're not going to win the division, but you're likely to make the wild card? That's sort of a new development in recent years.
Yeah. Hey, great question. I'm sorry for being a little late.
No, don't worry about it.
She was getting into the hotel. It is a changing landscape, George. And I think here's one of the problems in 4 of the divisions in the big leagues right now. There is a serious situation that teams are both division contenders and wild card contenders. Being a division champion is a really big deal, because not only do you get home field advantage in the first round, but you also get a 5-game series. And that makes a big difference. Now, you go into the wild card situation, you may not even play at home. So what they're thinking is, can I win the division? An example. Let's take a look at Boston, New York. The likelihood of them winning the division are slim and none. They're going after the wild card. Miami, Philadelphia, the wild card. But then the Cubs suddenly are a division contender, but really not as much of a wild card contender, because they've got really good clubs in front of them. So the game right now, George, and here's the challenge to you and Kelly. The emotions day to day obviously can't help but impact you. But in reality, you've got 60 days to go. Is your club good enough not only to get in, but to advance between a 1 and a 5-game series? That is the ultimate challenge for an evaluator. And plus, George, and here's the trick. You don't know if somebody's going to get hurt. You think they will. Somebody's going to go down between now and the end of the year. And what you're really doing is you're buying renter's insurance, because you hope you never use it. But if, in fact, you lose a catcher, an outfielder, a starting pitcher, you've got somebody to fall back on. And that's the dilemma that's going through every office with like 25 hours to go.
Okay, Kelly, before we go to the break, ask him your Padre question, because it's a great one.
Well, I've just been reading, like, the Padres played really good. I mean, George has talked about, and you have too, about what a disappointment they have been this year. But they go out and they show kind of what they can do this past weekend. They sweep the Rangers. So, you think they make the playoffs?
I don't, Kelly. I think they're a wild card pretender. They're like 8 games out of the division. They're probably an 84, 85 win team. That's not going to be good enough in the West. And I don't think it's going to be good enough for the 3rd wild card spot either. I think it's going to take 85 or 86. But here's the problem. They're really balancing on the edge of the diving board because they're 5 out of the wild card and they're 8 out of the division. And if guys are available, Snell, Hader, Soto are all available. But AJ Preller is a protege of mine. I know AJ well. I would not be surprised if AJ rolled the dice a little bit both ways and took some chances to try to get better, but also took some chances on improving his club long term.
Nice.
That is interesting stuff because the Padres, they're drawing like crazy out at Petco. They're averaging almost 40,000 a game, which is unheard of in old San Diego Padres stuff. They've got this payroll from hell. And, let me ask you this, Danny. Of their big names, who do you believe is the most likely to get dealt?
I would say Hader.
Yeah.
Hader followed by Snell, followed by Soto. And George, the other thing is there's only 8 clubs that are really out of it. And those 8 teams are bad clubs. And for the most part, they don't have much to trade. And those they had to trade, they've moved both of them. So now what we're doing is we're reacting to teams that are on the bubble and teams that are contemplating what they're doing. As a result, everybody's in a little bit of a stalemate trying to figure out whether, guys like Dylan Cease or Verlander, Snell, Hader, whether those guys are going to be moved, Flaherty. And those bubble teams are really the ones controlling the entire trade market right now.
Which is good for them because there's so few of them that they ought to get great value.
Yeah, you're right. But you know what, George, is another thing. There's 8 big series going on this week with contending teams. It's odd the teams match up as much as they do this week. The Phils and the Marlins, the Rays and the Yanks, Angels, Bravos, Cleveland, Houston, all these teams going at it. Literally 8 different series. They can't help it. It's going to affect how you feel about your situation in the postseason. Whether you're right or not, George, you don't know. And you don't know until about a month and a half from now, but you don't have a month and a half. You've got 24 hours.
You're right about that. Danny, hang with us. We're going to do a full segment with you after the break.
Thanks, George.
Danny will rejoin us, but first, let's talk pretty exciting stuff. This Music City Grand Prix is this Saturday.
No.
This Friday. This Sunday.
It's upon us.
You're darn tootin' it is. I'm excited. I've never been to one of these, and I've taken a long look at the schedule, the concerts, the whole 9 yards. Man, have they got it going. So if you're sitting out there going, hadn't thought much about this, jump in now. Go to musiccitygp.com. It'll start as low as general admission and work up to some pretty heavy amenities. They've got it all. And take a look at the music schedule because they have got concerts everywhere you turn. So when they put the words Music City in there, they mean it. Go to musiccitygp.com. More with Danny Evans and maybe a little note from the ATL. So stick around.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Okay, baseball trade deadline about 24 hours away. Our man Danny Evans here to solve all of the baseball world's problems. Danny, help me with what's going on in Brian Cashman's mind right now. He brings Aaron Judge off the DL. The guy looks like he's about 60% right now, but he's still good enough to hit a homer and get them a big win Saturday night. Does that make Cashman do something in the buyer market?
Good question, George. You know, they've got a big series this week against Tampa Bay, and I think their trajectory is something that, you know, they look like they're an 84, 86 win team. I don't think that's good enough to win the division. I think they're probably looking at the second or third wild card spot. One thing about Brian is he operates very much, very much under the radar. So usually he's far more active than people portray him publicly. He's just so good at what he does. But he's got a dilemma, George, because he doesn't have a lot of wiggle room in terms of his ability to put the foot on the floor and get a lot better quicker. He needs starting pitching. There's very limited starting pitching on the market right now. He needs Judge to be healthy. There's no way he can forecast that. So he's in a great division. I have problems when people call them a last place club because they're anything but a last place club. They're really the result of their division. But I think you're going to see them make a move or two. I would not be surprised because Brian is always engaged at the deadline.
a week ago, I thought Cody Bellinger was going there. Danny, I don't believe that anymore. How about you?
No, I think the Cubbies are going to go at this. They've got a couple teams ahead of them in Milwaukee and Cincinnati that I think they don't look at as teams that can run away. At the same time, they're only 3.5 games out of the wild card. So they're in an odd situation that they're red hot, and they've got in Stroman and in Bellinger a couple of assets that could return a great deal. But I think in a town where the White Sox are having a bad year, they have an opportunity to go and try to see if they can get in. They don't have an Atlanta or the Dodgers or the Rangers ahead of them. And I think they know their club better than we do. And I think they're looking at it saying, hey, maybe we're only an 82 or 83 win team. But in this city, if we compete with Cincinnati and Milwaukee, there's no telling who we're going to be. And George, right now, they're in the middle of a series against the Reds that could drastically alter their situation. So my guess, they're not moving those two assets. My guess, they're going to add, but not add a ridiculous amount. Just add a little tweaking here and there.
Alex Anthopoulos, you know him well, the Braves GM. In my opinion, he won them the world title 2 years ago with the moves he made at the deadline. If you were guessing, is he going to get them a starting pitcher?
Well, first of all, he's elite. I mean, he's as good as there is. Adding Lopez, adding Johnson for not much just makes them better. I mean, they're clearly going to be the number 1 seed in the National League. And for that matter, George, they're going to have the World Series home field advantage unless they suddenly crater, because no one in the American League is going to near them in victories. So he's playing for home field advantage, and he's playing to win the World Series. Who's out there? Verlander, Jack Flaherty, the possibility of a Dylan Cease, a Lorenzen, perhaps a Snell. I'm sure he's in on all of them. And if those guys will be dealt, he'll be in there. And one reason he'll be in there, George, he has prospects to deal. And whenever you have the currency of prospects on July 31st and August 1st, you're involved in every trade. I just don't know that there are that many starters out there for them to obtain that guy. But one thing I'm sure of, Atlanta's involved in those deals.
Okay. Last thing on my end, you mentioned Verlander. I've assumed that they will not be in on that because the Mets will say we're not dealing inside the division. You buy that?
No, I don't. I used to have that theory, George, 10, 15 years ago, but now there's as many wild card contestants as there are division champions. And I think if you're obsessed with your own division, especially when we're playing a balanced schedule now, you're not playing 19 games anymore. You're playing 13 against your division. For me, the goal is to get to the dance. So I don't think so. And for me, George, I think Verlander's an outstanding target. I know he's 41. I know he's got $90+ million attached. He's been there. He's a great teammate. He's on a roll. He's an innings guy. For me, he would be a guy that I would lock in, trying to see if I could obtain him. I know there's risk, but there's minimal risk when it comes to him because this guy's a darn good pitcher still at his age.
Hey, Kelly.
Yes, sir.
Read my lips. We get Justin Verlander, we're going to win it all, baby.
Well, you just talked about, I asked you, you just talked about how you thought he was going to cost too much money. So I don't know.
Well, that's the other thing is how much salary do you have on? You got time for a couple of questions with Danny? Do your best.
Yeah, I'll try, man. Danny, here's we've got a young man. Obviously, David Price is from our area, but so is Sonny Gray. And I was reading something earlier about Sonny Gray. They're talking about like Minnesota's leading their division now. It's not by much, but they're talking about dealing him. Have you heard anything about that? About Sonny Gray going somewhere? And why would you do that?
First of all, I'm a big Sonny Gray fan. He's as good as there is. I mean, he's just got a really good arm, and he continuously churns wins and innings. Here's the problem, Kelly. You don't have a lot of control on him. He's going to be gone soon. And because of that, you have to listen, especially when starting pitching is at such a premium. Their problem, they've got a 1.5 game lead. But they also know that they're not going to be a wild card team. There's no way they can get into the wild card. They're going to be 5 to 7 wins off a wild card win. So they have to win their division. I'm sure they're looking at Cleveland, wondering what Cleveland's going to do. And Kelly, both of those clubs right now are playing both sides of the fence, trying to add, but also thinking, hey, if I subtract and I can obtain someone for the future and still retain a chance to win this year, I don't think the other team's going to pull that far away from me. But what are they doing, Kelly? They're going in for the division title and nothing else. So it's a delicate maneuvering situation for both of those squads.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's why we have you on, because you're the guy. Okay, so this intrigues me, and I've asked you something similar about this before. But if you're one of those 8 teams you talk about, I remember being on a team in the National Football League, and I remember every Monday the coach would come up after losing. He would come up and say the same type stuff. So as a GM or as a manager, how do you keep your team? Like, is this just like a sell-off for the teams that are totally out of it? And are you trying to bring guys up from your farm system and get those guys, see if they can do it? Or how does this work with those 8 teams that are and the guys that are on there? How do you keep the morale up with those guys?
Oh, great question, Kelly. And it comes down to pride. It comes down to professionalism. It comes down to continue to play with some respect for the game. But another thing, and I think it's something that's often lost, is that these players are playing for contracts for next year, and you can rack up some big numbers without any pressure on you right now. I mean, you're not trying to catch the Orioles. You're not trying to catch the Rangers. You've got 50-something games to go. And what some guys do is they switch in to selfish mode right now, and I actually think it's okay. They switch into selfish mode and they go, you know what? I'm going to go after some numbers now. I'm going to go after trying to get myself to certain plateaus to motivate me to come out to the park every day. When you're on a pace of winning, 60 to 65 to 70 games, you have no chance to get in the postseason. You have to dig down deep. And, for me, Oakland, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Kansas City, Colorado, Washington, those clubs right now, a lot of our friends, a lot of people we're aware of would basically mail it in at this point. The problem is we count everything in baseball. Every game's on TV. Every team's available on the internet. So you really can't go and hide. So as a result, you can really pollute your opportunities. But here's one more thing, Kelly. If I'm a player on those clubs, many guys through the years have told me I would pray to get traded to a good club because it does 2 things. It enhances my value in the marketplace, but it also gives me something to play for all the way into October. For the real pros, this is the time where they go, I love it here, but for me, boy, would it be great to be playing for something that matters. It never hurts your value and it rejuvenates you. So I think that's what's going through the minds of a lot of people.
And obviously you've been around it. That's unbelievable. But if you're I'm looking at all the trade stuff going on. It's mostly pitchers. Is that not true? People are looking for pitching. They're looking for relief pitchers. They're looking for starting pitchers. But if you're a position player, I know that happens, but it looks like it doesn't happen as much if you're a pitcher. Am I correct about that?
You're exactly right, Kelly. And here's the problem. Just about every one of those contending teams has somebody playing the position that you already play. So unless you're a serious upgrade, you're Nolan Arenado, you're Teoscar Hernandez, you're Verdugo, you're Candelario, most of those clubs are good because they have good players. But you've got 13, 14 pitchers on every team. So you have more possibilities to plug guys in. As a result, starters and relievers are coveted. And Kelly, here's the problem. Position players, in many cases, it's really hard to ascertain a value for them right now, simply because there aren't a lot of teams going after position players. So as a result, the starter market, the reliever market is clarified, whereas the position player market is not. And subsequently, it's a murky situation to move one of those guys.
Danny,
that way. So yeah, go ahead, George.
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I was just going to ask him because I brought this up earlier, and we got a guy. I wanted to know, and I probably should already know this, and I'm sure George knows this, but what's happened to David Price?
I don't know, but David Price was one of the key acquisitions on our club in the 15-16 Blue Jay run. And boy, he turned out to be an exceptional addition to our club and a great guy on the team. So I hope he's doing well. I know he's a Nashvilleian, and I really loved having him on that ball club.
You know, he, to my knowledge, has not announced a retirement.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know.
But if you watched him, the fastball that he had early in the career was not anywhere close to what you were seeing in the last few. And
and George is 37. You know, I mean, he'll be 38 late this month. I just know the birthday because we were all over him when we made the trade. And I think you reach a point in your career where your body's not the same. The recovery time isn't as good. Look at how the Dodgers utilized him. It kind of swung him for the most part. And a guy like that, you know, who's made 20 million plus throughout his career, suddenly if he's a fourth, fifth starter guy that you can't count on a lot of starts and a lot of innings, that's a very difficult role to digest for a lot of guys.
Which makes power pitcher Justin Verlander at this age even more remarkable, that he has been able to continue to, and Scherzer for that matter as well. Danny, thank you as always. I guess we'll do this on Thursday and sort of see who the winners and the losers were.
I love it, George. And I'll tell you what, I think there's going to be a lot of action in these last 24 hours. For the fans, it's 5 o'clock Nashville time tomorrow. I think you're going to see a lot of stuff going on.
I think you're right. Danny, thank you as always.
Thanks, George.
Danny Evans, the guy is the best. He knows exactly what this all feels like. So after the break, I want all of you to listen closely. Yes, there will be stat of the day. Likelihood will bomb. But then after that, college football stuff. We will go to Baton Rouge and talk with Matt Moscona from ESPN Baton Rouge, and then the bombshell that is beginning to emerge. Florida State may be leaving the ACC for the Big Ten. Seminole student and Battleground Academy graduate Butch Samide with the very latest near the bottom of the hour. If you love college football, this hour coming up, you better be watching. Stay tuned. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general. Baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. Final segment, I guess, even though it's 3 minutes past the hour here in this first hour. But we've got Stat of the Day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. There we go. You can find them out in Shelbyville, 204 East Depot Street. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. All right, we got Matt Moscona coming up, talking a little LSU football, but first, Stat of the Day. Here we go. Countdown to week 0 of college football, 26 days away from week 0. What SEC school does Vandy not have an all-time losing record against in football?
Well, now, hold on a second. Kelly, I smell a rat here. You ready? You know what?
Okay, tell me.
Well,
what?
Back in the old days, Sewanee, Tulane, Georgia Tech, at some point were all members of the SEC. I believe that this is a trick question. I'm trying to think: Missouri, Texas A&M, Arkansas, South Carolina, new ones.
Kentucky? No?
I don't know. Is it a trick question?
No.
Yeah, are we getting hosed here?
Wait a minute.
This is a current SEC team.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, let's think this one through. I think we can eliminate Alabama.
Yeah, UT, no question. Georgia, no question.
Yeah.
Auburn, no question.
Well,
Florida, no question.
So if they're all no questions, why is he asking it? Could it be the bullies of Mississippi State?
That's what I was going to say next, George. Mississippi State or Kentucky are my two.
We're going with Mississippi State. Let's see what Billy says.
Auburn.
Oh, gosh. Auburn?
Really?
Yeah. How about that?
Are you kidding me?
During the Civil War? When are we talking about?
No. I mean, well, first off, they haven't played
Really?
a whole lot. I mean, 21-21, that's not, that's, of course, they're in the West. But, when Vanderbilt has played Auburn, it's like they've caught them at the right time. I know 2008, they beat them. In College Game Day was there. They beat them. They beat a really bad Gene Chizik team. But yeah, I guess in the 80s and 90s,
Wow.
they faced Auburn and beat them too. I was surprised
Wait
by
a
this
minute.
too.
The 1890s?
The 80s and 90s.
Well, now I was around.
Well,
I did
they
one.
had to have been.
I did one that ended up 56-6.
I feel like you say that a lot about your Vanderbilt game.
Okay, wow.
Would have never thought Auburn, though. I'm going to be honest with you.
Man.
Never in a million years, Auburn.
Never gave that a thought.
Nope.
Okay. If you are a college football fan, you better be watching this over the next 40 minutes, period. Think about this. LSU and Florida play on Labor Day, I want to say Sunday night.
LSU and Florida State.
What'd I say?
Florida.
Well, okay. LSU and Florida State play on Labor Day Sunday night. A couple of storylines starting to emerge. Is LSU a national title contender? Are they better than Alabama? Those are two obvious storylines. And secondly, is Florida State truly leaving the ACC for the Big Ten? We're going to get a report on that in just a few moments. But first, to Baton Rouge and ESPN's finest, Matt Moscona. Matt, let's start with baseball. Who would have imagined this great run that LSU made? What was that like for the people in Baton Rouge?
Well, I think a lot of people in Baton Rouge expected it. I mean, this was a team that had, as we all saw, tremendous talent, the most talented roster in the country, and I would argue the most talented team LSU's ever had. So, I mean, you have the first teammates ever to go 1-2 in the draft with Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz. So it was a team everybody knew was capable of winning a national championship. They had to go do it whenever. It's baseball. I mean, Georgia just weird things happen in baseball. The best team doesn't always win. You know, Tennessee was magnificent a year ago, and they didn't make it to Omaha. So to see a team that had that much talent ability actually climb the mountain was pretty awesome. They were a great team.
For a few days, is it LSU baseball, then LSU football?
Hey, I always say that in a literal sense of the word, am in the unique market. There's nothing like Baton Rouge because we have population crossover Baton Rouge, New Orleans. So I can talk New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, and I can talk about LSU. But not only that, because there's a lot of places. Atlanta's like that, right? You got Falcons, Braves, Hawks, but you also have the University of Georgia. But the difference is college baseball. Georgia, I can literally talk about a midweek game pitching change, and people care in Baton Rouge. That's how much they deeply care about college baseball. So when LSU baseball gets me to the end of June, man, I am pumped up. So yeah, once college baseball ends and people are ready to turn the page to football. So if you can get me to the end of June with college baseball, I'm pretty happy.
That's pretty good stuff. So people will ask me in my years as an SEC play-by-play announcer, where was my favorite place? And I always give the answer when they're all at their best. Tiger Stadium at night is the best. What was it like when the 2-point conversion worked against Bama?
You could put that on the short list and possibly at the top of that short list for the greatest games ever in Tiger Stadium. For years, like older SEC fans might remember this, but in 1979, LSU played Southern Cal, and that was a great Southern Cal team that had Anthony Munoz and Ronnie Lott and Charles White and Marcus Allen. I mean, they were
pretty stacked.
They were magnificent. And LSU played a close game and lost it. But for so many years, that was sort of the benchmark game. Well, LSU's gone through this amazing 20-year run where they've won 3 national titles and played for a 4th, and they've been, among the elite of college football, and they played a lot of great games. So when you start talking about a game like that, which many might now consider because of the way it transpired, Bryce Young's heroics, Jaden Daniels making the plays, the overtime, it may go down as the greatest game we've ever seen in Tiger Stadium. There are people.
Man, that's saying a lot.
It is. There are people who will remember that game as, along with 2007 Florida, the Jacob Hester first 4th down conversion game. It was just a special, magnificent night, and probably because it was also unexpected that LSU would get that done year 1 under Brian Kelly.
Are they back to national championship talk?
Well, yeah. You look at Vegas odds. I believe there's only maybe 4 teams that have better odds to win the national championship than LSU. I don't know how you feel, but I think this week when we leave here and the league announces the preseason all-conference and the projected order of finish, that the media here are going to pick LSU to win the West. That seems to be what most are saying here. And if you win the West, you go to Atlanta and you got a chance to play for a championship. So, right. and I think it's warranted. I think this is the weakest quarterback year we've seen for the league since 2014, and LSU's got a great one, and they've got a ton of depth and talent and experience, and they got a good coach, and the schedule flips in their favor where A&M, Florida, Auburn all come to Baton Rouge. LSU does have to go to Bama, but Tennessee rotates off, Missouri rotates on, so it's there. I'll put you this way. If LSU's not playing nationally meaningful games in November, something went very wrong with this team.
So let's start with the quarterback part of this, because we've reached an era, and I don't know when the exact date was, where the quarterback's importance went from here to like up in the moon.
Yeah.
And you've got one that on certain days might be the best in the league. Can he do it 12 weeks in a row? Because that seems to have been at times the bugaboo.
Yeah. Jaden a year ago was so interesting, and a lot of people are comparing it to, in some respects, Joe Burrow's first season in Baton Rouge. And please don't miss, I say that I know no one's expecting him to be Burrow of 2019. Okay, like that was literally, I mean, it was the most prolific season we've ever seen from a college football quarterback. So that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when Burrow came here in 2018, there was a very steep learning curve where he had to very quickly assimilate with new teammates, new offense, new coaches, learn. And he was building the bridge as he crossed it in 2018. And there were times it looked really good, and there was times it didn't. And then that second year, he took off. I think there's a lot of that potential for Jaden this year, where a year ago it was, hey, don't make the mistake that's going to get us beat. So 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He protected the football. They played smart, and they were able to win a lot of close games as a result. I think this is a year where you can expect to see Jaden Daniels open up that offense more, maybe take a few more risks, because they've got the talent, the depth to compensate if they do make a mistake. But he's, it's also just so rare that you see a guy who's been a 5-year starter in college, but COVID's afforded him that opportunity.
Yeah.
So you have a grown man who's played now. He's started for 4 years, but he's 5th year as a starter.
A true adult.
Yes, it's a real sincere advantage that LSU is going to have with Jaden Daniels because of his talent and his experience.
Talk to me a little bit about Brian Kelly. There's a national perception out there. He's a yeller. He's a screamer. He would appear to be, on the surface, a quarterback nightmare. But it looks like there's a calmer side of him at times than there used to be. Am I blind? What?
No. I think you nailed it.
I can't believe I'm saying that.
I think you nailed it. But so, disclosure, like, I didn't know Brian Kelly at all when he was hired.
Sure.
I mean, I saw the same thing that you saw. The red-faced guy yelling on the sideline, you're yelling at his players, yelling at it. Like, he had the temperament, the Northeastern guy, the Boston, But what's so interesting is we have seen kind of a 180 of that guy. It's not to say that he doesn't have intensity and want to win and sometimes, gets angry, but he's honestly just been a very pleasant guy to interact with. He's been magnificent with us. Maybe, George, part of it last year is, I think going into last year, they didn't think they were going to be very good. They opened up practice to us, and I joked that they literally let us watch full scrimmages, which never happens anymore. And I just said they were just trying to show us that, look, they're actually not very good. Look, you can all see we're not going to be very good.
Well,
go tell everybody.
Go report
it. That we're not give us some time. But obviously then they had a really fantastic year one. But no, Brian has been he's been a pleasure to cover, even through adversity. They lost that opener to Florida State, and I think he was very tempered and measured. I think the one thing they'll have this year they didn't have a year ago was enormous expectation. And so if you do have that enormous expectation, you fail to meet it, then how does that play? So we might see that, maybe see a different side this year. But yeah, you nailed it. He's certainly, our experience in a little more than a year now has been dramatically different than I think what perception was that many of us had coming in.
So for me, having been to Tiger Stadium a couple of times, I'm in awe of that fan base. When Orgeron's stuff cratered at the end, all of a sudden you'd see sections of the upper deck that were empty, and I was like, wow, this is different. Today, what kind of season ticket sales, what have these expectations done there?
I think LSU is not that dissimilar from any other program in that LSU got caught up in the arms race at a time where everybody was expanding. It used to be Tennessee and Michigan were the only stadiums over 100,000. That was like 10 of them. Well, LSU got caught up in that. So they expanded at a time where the home viewing experience got so good and people stopped wanting to pay to sit in traffic and sit on a little piece of metal and wait in line to pee and wait in line for an $8 Coke. You know what I mean? It's just, but you know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
When
beer's a lot cheaper at home.
When there is a big game, a great opponent, a night game, when all of those elements come together, Tiger Stadium is still like what you
the best.
It is the best.
It is the best.
At its best, it is better than any place else at its best. But if you go on a Saturday when LSU's bringing in Mississippi State, who might be 3-8 at the time, and it's a 2:30 game and it's 100 degrees, you know what I mean? You're probably going to have big sections of empty seats. But I think LSU fans are conditioned to know when they have to turn it on, when they have to be great. And to the point that you asked the question, this year you get A&M at home, you get Florida at home, you get Auburn at home. Army is coming to Baton Rouge this year for a non-conference game, which could be a really cool scene in late October. The home schedule is magnificent, so you should have a lot of really great moments and opportunities in Tiger Stadium.
Well, and think back to last season. Tennessee fans celebrated the fact that was an 11 a.m. kickoff.
They were right, too.
In Baton Rouge, and they were right. Like, that's how real that advantage is. If that was a night game, LSU probably favored. Tennessee fans maybe don't travel as much. It's just, it's such an advantage.
So I got one last thing. There is a shot of Tiger Stadium. I haven't been there in a good while, but the new upper deck in the end zone looks like it's closer to the moon than New Orleans. Is that true?
I think you can high five St. Peter up there. But, LSU did a really interesting thing. They called that the Skyline Club.
Oh, I can see why.
But what they did, they created private access via elevator up there. The seating is your seating is bigger with more leg room. You've got your own bathrooms allocated for just that little section up there, and then you have premium concessions as well. So they made it while your view is going to be atrocious. I mean, you are high. They tried to make that into something that had more of an amenity and more experiential, which honestly, I think that's what you're going to see most stadiums do. Florida's talking about when they renovate the Swamp, contracting seats, taking out maybe 8,000 seats and putting in more premium seating. And I just think that's the way it's got to be now, George. It's hard to justify someone spending $100 for a family, each ticket for a family of four to go sit in an upper deck and have the experience we just described. So, but yes, you ever come to Baton Rouge next time? I'll take you up to the Skyline Club. I'll make that happen for you, so you can get a nice bird's eye view.
All of you heard that? I'm going to take him up on it.
It's a literal bird's eye view.
All right, we're good.
Oh, it is up there a ways. So, Kelly, let me ask you this: when we look at LSU's key games for 2023, obviously Florida State determines whether you get off to a good start or not, and that is not going to be easy. The next two are a pain: at Ole Miss, at Alabama. Are you buying that LSU wins the West?
I don't know if I'm buying it, George, because you've got to do it again against Alabama, but they're really good. He talked about the kid that you see in the picture, the quarterback. Is it Jaden Williams? Is that his name?
Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel. Okay. Yeah, he is, he's got a lot of experience. He played at Arizona State when he was a true freshman.
Right.
Or a redshirt freshman. So he's got a lot of experience, and he came back for his fifth year. So he's probably – and he played well last year. I said it last week. You see red-faced Brian Kelly just yelling at him. But if he can take that and he can get through that, and then he can do what he did last year, I think they can, George. I really do. I think they can I think they can overseed Alabama absolutely, and I think they'd beat Ole Miss at Ole Miss. Ole Miss has got a really good, which is kind of different with Lane Kiffin because he likes to throw the ball, but they can run the ball this year, so they're going to be they might be at a hard out, but I see them beating Ole Miss. I don't know if they can beat Alabama again at Tuscaloosa. I'm not sure. We'll just have to see, and we don't know who's going to be the quarterback for Alabama at this period of time. So I'm not sure, but I think they can. I think they can win the West. I really do.
Okay. Couple of big developments going on in college football that have emerged in the last 24 to 48 hours. There is more going on at Northwestern. Billy, what is it?
Well, George, Skip Holtz. We all know who Skip Holtz is. Obviously, a lot of experience in the coaching world. He is, I don't think it's officially announced yet, but he's going to be a special assistant to the interim head coach this year.
I bet that. I wonder who hired who there. Because this staff, they don't need to worry about their long-term Northwestern future. I would assume they're all going to be gone at the end of the year, and had this whole hazing thing come out earlier, they'd already be gone. That said, Kelly, you've got an interim who was not a part of this staff a year ago who may be saying, I'd like to be the head coach. And now all of a sudden he's got a special assistant who has been a head coach several times. That could get a little dicey.
Yeah, it gets crazier by the second up there. I'm just not sure, George, too. Like we've talked about it before, but I don't know how if you're a player and you've gone through all this stuff and you know what happened. Obviously, Pat Fitzgerald got let go, but you still got these same coaches on the coaching staff. They had to know what's going on too. So, like, if you're a player, how do you?
Right. It doesn't.
How do you respect that? It makes no sense. I'm not sure. I don't. It just gets kind of crazier by the day. Their whole athletic department is getting turned over. State's evidence is getting turned over on them as we speak, I'm sure. So I don't know. It's just a weird situation, and somebody's got to have some big shoulders and step into that cesspool and figure out what we can do. But I think you're right. I don't think you can't look long periods down the road. You've got to just try to get this thing back on the rails somewhat to have a football season.
And George, their future in the Big Ten might be in jeopardy. I mean, I think we might need to start
I'm not going that far.
With conference realignment. I mean, you never. I don't know that a team would be kicked out of a conference, but
pump the brakes.
If any team would, it would be, and department would, it'd be Northwestern right
Tell
now.
him, Kelly, pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes. But he may have a point, George. I don't know. I don't see that happening.
Right. On the day he turns out to be right, I will suddenly develop an illness.
But it's like Kelly said, it keeps getting worse.
It's nuts. First of all, here's the next domino. The former Vandy wide receiver, the athletic director, Derek Grant, called on this show an empty suit. Okay? His handling of his business, pathetic. Before it's over, out. Gone. There's no way. I hear the president saying, oh, he's staying. Do I believe that? Hell no. No, I do not.
I promise you this. If the president starts getting heat on him, yes, you'll be absolutely 100% right. Because when the heat starts coming, people start melting and they start firing everybody so they can save themselves.
They scatter like rats.
They do.
After the break, there may be a big seismic, is that a word? Shift going on right now in college football.
There's no maybe about it.
Is Florida State leaving the ACC for the Big Ten? Student Butch Samide at Florida State, BGA grad, with the very latest on this rumor that will not die. Stick around.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Single game tickets are on sale now.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Okay, most of you know round 2 of this fruit basket turnover that is college football conference alignment started a week ago when Colorado bolted the Pac-12 to go back where they used to be, what is now the Big 12. The belief is that 2 or 3 more West Coast teams are about to do something, and then we will have one of 2 things either going on in the Pac-12. Either we will have a formal burial, or we'll have San Diego State, Fresno State, and don't forget Gonzaga, basketball only, as a possibility in the Pac-12. But now comes the real shocker. Florida State contemplating a move to the Big Ten, and it could happen as early as this week. I may not be able to talk, but hopefully Butch Samide can. He's a student at Florida State, has done great work on our show this summer, and is a Battleground Academy graduate. Billy, you need to take note of that.
Oh, sure.
Excellence. Yes. So, Butch, what is going on down there?
Yes, George. So, if you're following Florida State, you know that their athletic director, Michael Alford, has been pushing and pushing and pushing the ACC to have some sort of uneven revenue distribution among the conference to reward the Florida States and the Clemsons and to keep them competitive, as their television contract with ESPN is dwarfed by the SECs and the Big Tens out there. And I believe it's even smaller than the Big 12s. I think it's only bigger than the Pac-12s. And I found this quote from about a year ago. I didn't even remember this, but President McCullough of Florida State in August of last year, when asked about, trying to find a new conference, said, "It's something I'm spending a lot of time on, and we're getting a lot of help. We're trying to do anything we can to think about how we remain competitive. Florida State is expected to win. We're going to be very aggressive." So usually when I see certain rumors about this school going here, this school going there, I kind of brush it off and see if anything else builds over time. But looking back a year ago, trying to find that conference realignment was already on Florida State's mind. And then for the past few months, if you remember back in ACC meetings, Florida State and Clemson were trying to lead about half of the schools in the ACC to maybe try to pull out all at once to void the ACC contract if almost all the schools were out of that contract. Remember, the ACC is in a forever contract that they signed in the 2010s. It wasn't under the current commissioner, Jim Phillips. I forgot who was the commissioner before him. But ever since they signed that deal,
it was Swafford.
It might have been. And, it's ever since they signed that deal, every other conference has been able to sign a new one for way more money. And that quote by McCullough actually came just days after the Big Ten signed their big contract extension last year with ESPN and Fox. And it was the largest television deal in college sport history. So the Big Ten has been in the scope of Florida State for a long time now. I mean, at least for a year. And George, as you've had David Cutcliffe on multiple times now, he's said, Florida State, we've never talked about Florida State in the SEC offices. So, that kind of leads me to believe that the Big Ten really might be that landing spot for Florida State.
Okay, Butch, what would it cost Florida State to bolt?
Well, there's been a couple of different reports. So when those ACC meetings happened just a few months ago, Michael Alford, the AD at Florida State, said it's $450 million, and we have the boosters to pay it. So he kind of laid out the price tag and was very confident that he could raise that money to get out. Now, from what I've seen, they're trying to negotiate that down, and I've seen it as low as $300 million paid in $30 million installments, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, who knows? But you have to remember that if you get that Big Ten annual revenue just from the television contract, you're getting enough to pay off that $30 million a year, and you're still making more than what you'd be making just in the current ACC deal. So if they can get that number down to $300 million, and once again, this is just from Florida State reports, a lot of people are saying that it might be Florida State and Clemson to the Big Ten, and some are even saying that it might also be Oregon and Washington announcing this week also going to the Big Ten. I've heard Utah, Arizona State, Arizona. So the Pac-12, I'm a little more iffy on just because it hasn't been this long overdue plan to move conferences. Right now with the Pac-12, it seemed Colorado to the Big 12 was a little bit of a shock. And now if Oregon's leaving, that would be a huge blow. And so I'm more convinced that it's probably going to be a Florida State Clemson dual move to the Big Ten. But as you were saying earlier, the Pac-12 could be, dead any time now.
Let's bring Kelly into this. Kelly, the George Plaster Show reporting that Hawaii will then join the ACC. That would make a lot of sense, huh?
That would make a lot of sense. Like, I don't understand this, Butch. I mean, I know David Cutcliffe said that, but obviously, now is it USC and UCLA, George, that are already going to the Big Ten?
Yeah.
So I could see Oregon and Washington doing the same thing. So, like, what is the Big Ten just going to take everybody? Do we know?
Well, the main thing you have to remember here is the markets, so right now, the only people that have true markets in Florida are the ACC and the SEC. Now, UCF, so maybe the Big 12 can get a bit of that, but I don't think UCF is really controlling that market like a Florida State, like a Miami, like a Florida would. So the Big 10 getting into Florida would be huge for that conference. And obviously growing on the West with USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington would just help that. But I think the main concern, if the Big 10 can get into the South, that's when they start to challenge the SEC. Because no one right now is going to contest that the SEC is the best football conference and probably the best athletic conference in general. But if you start looking at the Big Ten and you add in Florida State and you add in a Clemson and you add in the USC and the UCLA, now you're starting to look at it's like we have teams in the South, we have teams in the North, we have teams in the West, and you're looking at a top 6, or at least let's say in football, top 5 of USC, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Clemson. And you can't really rival that with the SEC. I mean, you have obviously Oklahoma, Texas coming in, Alabama, Tennessee, and then, maybe a LSU this year, Florida the next, Auburn the next, kind of that fill-in 5th spot. But I mean, I think personally, now this deal has to get done quickly, because if Florida State wants to leave after this season, I believe that it's after August 7th or 8th, they can no longer do that. So there is a strict timeline here. But if I'm the SEC and I'm hearing, well, the Big Ten's about to get Florida, or the Big Ten's about to get in South Carolina, or who knows where else, that's when I start to sit up and I say, oh, I don't want the Big Ten to be in my market. I want to control that Southern market. So that's kind of the main piece for me. If the Big Ten can get a deal done quickly and sweep that market out from underneath the SEC, then you start to think about, all right, now we have 2 mega conferences, and do the rest of it. Is it no longer Group of 5? Is it, or Power 5? Is it just the Power 2?
So does this make Greg Sankey kind of eat his words about he only wanted 16 teams? Like, if the Big Ten's going to bring everybody in from the West Coast to the East Coast to the South, does the commissioner of the SEC say, hey, we've got to stop this? Florida State's in our backyard. Clemson's a Southern team. Do we try to bring them in? I mean, I wonder if there's talks going on now. I know David Cutcliffe said no, but like with all this coming on, if that's happening, I wonder if they're actually talking about it now.
By the way, we have late word the Yankees will not be joining the Big Ten.
Well, Kelly, I'm going to chime in here on that one. I think this Big Ten move is sort of SEC, you're adding Texas and OU. We're going to go try to double that and add, 4 teams. I don't know if you'd call them monster programs, but I mean, yeah, Clemson and FSU, pretty traditional, monster type programs. So I don't know if the SEC would respond to that. But I think it's a lot about the Big Ten saying, hey, we're going to try to counter that.
It just means more.
It just means more.
Yes, it does.
That's funny.
Yeah. But I mean, it is tough because, Sankey did come out and he said very plainly, we are not looking to expand anymore. And so I believe when he said that he was not looking to expand anymore. But Florida State has been so vocal for, the past year now that they are looking to move. They don't want to be in the ACC. They're not getting the money to stay competitive, and they need to go somewhere else. Now, how do they get out of that contract financially with the grant of rights? That is yet to be seen. And honestly, until the news breaks, I don't think, we're going to have an answer to that, if the news breaks. But I do think that if the SEC does nothing, I don't know what else there is to add. I remember last year there was rumors of Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina possibly going to the SEC. So if those were, just kind of rumors shot out into the void, so be it. But, you start looking around the college football landscape and you say, who else is out there? There's not that many more college football powerhouses left to fall. Maybe an Oregon or a Washington or a Utah, maybe one of those teams, but I don't think the SEC.
There's one more out there: the Catholics versus the convicts.
That's going to be. I mean, in Notre Dame, they're also in that ACC contract because the ACC owns their football grant of rights until the contract expires, I believe, in 2034 or something ridiculous. So, Notre Dame's going to have to make that same way out that Florida State would. So, Notre Dame would be the last piece to fall, but they have less to really negotiate with because the only reason that the ACC wanted them for men's and women's basketball and baseball and so on is to get that football grant of rights locked down. So that's kind of why, a Notre Dame rumor to the Big Ten has always been shot down, because like, well, you got to pay that same price tag, that $450 million or however much million it is, just to get your football back out of that contract. So, it's a really, really tough situation. And I think the SEC has to make some kind of counter offer to Florida State. I don't know if that's going to be, actually paying some of that $300 million or $400 million to get out of the contract, or if it's more once they get in and then kind of tails off back to what every other school makes. The schools are going to have to get creative with this. And like I said, we won't know fully until that news breaks. But, there's a lot of keys and dominoes financially about, just like I said, Florida being a market. Does SEC want to double dip there like the ACC did? Or are they going to let the Big Ten swoop in and get the South Carolina, Florida market and really just kind of control the whole globe? Because they can say, well, we got schools over on that part of the country and here and there and there. And so, yeah, maybe next is they recruit the Braves for baseball and they get the Lakers and LeBron to come for basketball. And why not just throw, the Chiefs in there for football as well? So, it's a funky situation. It's really hard. I expect if there is news to come, I would say it's either going to happen tomorrow or it's going to happen Wednesday. And if it goes any further than that, I think that, there's not enough time to get the deal done. But I think that secretly it might already be done. Florida State might already have their bags packed and ready to go somewhere. Wow. It's just they're waiting to announce.
The Braves may be a package deal with Atlanta United. Let's get the soccer into it. Okay, that one didn't go over as well as I thought it would. So, Butch, you think this announcement could come in the next 48 hours?
I believe that if there is going to be an announcement this year, now I also wouldn't be surprised if nothing happens this year, and maybe once football season ends, something breaks, and it shows that, Florida State in 2 years will be going kind of similar to a Texas, Oklahoma. They didn't make it in time to have it, the next season after to go. So it's 2 seasons later, they'd be joining the SEC. So it might be something like that as well. But I think Florida State they're really, really trying hard to get a deal done. And I think that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in the next 48 hours. Because I think some of those parts are already in the works, if not already completed.
You better hope that this works out in the next 48 hours, because if not, the guy on the right will dog the crap out of you.
I mean, then again, George, we could go back and months later, Florida State leaves, and then I can come right back and say, I was just early. So, it's hard reporting wise, because right now a lot of it is just rumors. But from the people that are saying it, they are usually not this optimistic or confident in these sort of rumors unless there's some real truth behind it. So this isn't, Steve 1234 FSU tweeting out saying they're gone. This Big Ten, SEC, highest bidder. These are real people, at the top of 24/7 on 3 Sports. Some really credible guys are coming out and saying, this looks like it could be done and announced pretty soon. So, next week, Kelly, feel free to call me an idiot if nothing comes out.
No.
But
no, I will not allow that. You're a Battleground Academy graduate. We do not resort to that on this show.
There's a standard here on the George
Damn
Lasker
right
show.
there is. We're not doing that. Absolutely not. Butch, thank you as always. Good work. We'll see if it's good enough, because if it isn't, Kelly will be up your rear end. Believe me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, guys.
See you,
buddy.
Well, you stayed quiet this time. What was this?
Yeah, what was that all about, Kelly?
I don't know, man. I'm just
You laying off a Butch?
I am laying off a Butch. I don't really know him like I know you, Billy. I'd much rather give it to you, but I don't know. Where's that? I mean, are they going to dodge that 125, 135 million? I don't know where that comes from. I guess we'll see, but like if that does happen, George and Billy, like if Florida State goes and Clemson's going to go somewhere, like what does that do to the ACC? I mean, is that null? I mean, I don't know. Where do we go from there?
It falls into the Atlantic Ocean.
Seriously, I mean, it's kind of like the Pac-12 too. Like the Pac-12 is the Pac-12 is in trouble. I think. I think they're totally in trouble. But if this happens, the ACC is going to be in trouble as well.
Yeah, I think you order up 2 coffins, see if you can get a discount. Pac-12 one, ship that out west. It looks bad. If I was thinking about potential members for the ACC, if they were to lose Florida State and or Clemson, I don't know. I mean,
and where do you go?
East Carolina. That doesn't.
Have we mentioned SMU yet? I think SMU is a team that the Big 12 probably won't look at. I mean, they've got enough teams in Texas. SMU, I think, would be pretty good for the Pac-12. I know they lost their quarterback and their head coach recently. They're still good though. But breaking news, not necessarily breaking news.
More breaking news?
Well, somewhat of breaking news. Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff will finally present a TV rights deal to league members within the next 48 hours.
That might be a good idea.
Everything's within the next 48 hours.
So, hold on. What is his last name?
George Kliavkoff.
Kliavkoff. Kelly, if you will, spell that.
I'm not even trying that, George. I can't even say it, Hoss.
It starts with a K.
Yeah, I'm not going to try that.
Kelly, after the break, we're going to make our vast listening audience some money.
Oh, here we go. Did you win the other day?
I don't know.
Yes.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll review it and then make you some Monday money. All of that next.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, We have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Bear Difference at beardifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Final segment on a Monday from the beautiful Fordyce Center in Bellevue. It's time for some free money on a Monday. Plaster's Bet of the Day brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. Let's see what happened last week. For George, let's do a little bit of review. Win. All he's doing right now is winning, Kelly.
He's winning. He's just a winner. He's just a winner. That's all he can say.
It's also baseball season.
He doesn't believe that.
No, I don't. It really bothers me to have to say that too.
I know it does.
And every time I see you swing that golf club in that commercial, I think of Term Edwards now. I think you need to go back and rework that and do the putting stroke.
You know what?
Rework.
We may go back over there and cut one of those. So there are no free lunch programs in life other than this. This has made you money for more than a year now. I mean, I'm just telling the truth. Look where we're going tonight.
Oh,
Tampa on the road. I think that's on the road, isn't it?
I think so. Let me double check.
Yeah, it says versus Yankees, right? It's the team on the right is the home. It is.
It is in New York. Yep.
Okay. So why am I doing that? Well, the only way the Yankees win this game is if Aaron Judge goes off. Because if you really look at the Yankees these days, other than Aaron Judge, nobody's hitting. They have no offense. Last night, Luis Severino, who has great stuff, got his bell rung in Baltimore. 7 in the first. The Yankees suck.
Go throw it out there like that. I like it. And I'm not a Yankees guy, but I'm going to have to – I got to go for them tonight. I'm going to have to check up on this one.
You're going to root for the Yankees?
I don't know if it's rooting for the Yankees. It's just rooting against you.
Thank you. That's so special.
Here comes the Yankees' 15-game win streak.
No, don't think so. They don't score.
I don't think that's going to happen this year, Billy.
So they're really that bad.
They might be. They struggle so much on offense. I mean, Aaron Judge should not be playing, but this is a desperation move. He looks like he's at about 60%, and yet he homered 2 nights ago with that toe problem and all.
Yeah, that's pretty freakish.
Oh, it's unbelievable. He's amazing. Hey, tomorrow on the show, really good stuff. You ready?
Ready.
Good. Thank you. Tony Basilio from Knoxville, always good. We may get into this Florida State stuff a little with him, especially if Clemson, his neighbor to the east, happens to be in the middle of it. Then Kelly's old teammate, former Florida Gator, and now SEC Network commentator Chris Doering.
CD.
Yeah, he'll join us. So we've got action-packed Tuesday, full of college football, and we'll begin it with Terry McCormick. I can't talk. Terry McCormick.
Kelly McCormick.
Yeah, whatever. Terry's going to be on at the start, and he's going to talk about the Titans. How's that?
Billy, how does George look? Is he like on the verge of having a stroke or something? I mean, has he got a shoulder tingling or something? Like, what's going on today?
I don't know. I don't know if he had a long weekend.
You're looking for a twitch?
I mean, good gracious, dude, you've mispronounced everything today, Hoss. Like, get outside and walk some more,
You
Hoss.
just back off.
I mean, I'm starting to worry about you that you're having stroke symptoms.
We're out of here. Ignore Kelly. We'll be back tomorrow. Now, he may not be back. He doesn't know it yet, but we're going to have a little meeting to discuss that. See you tomorrow.
See you.